Hello viewers, it's another exciting episode of The Girl Who Can. If you missed last week, watch the repeat on Thursdays at 3:30 on Lifestyle TV. Now today's episode is going to be what you do not want to miss. And I'll read this quote from Ama Ata Edu. Time by itself means nothing, no matter how fast it moves, unless we give it something to carry for us, something we value because it is such a precious vehicle. That is what time is. You know, most of us are moving very fast, but moving without a purpose. And sometimes it makes us very confused about what we want to attain in life. We reach a goal and we think that that is not it yet. Today on The Girl Who Can, we want to discuss how to define your purpose, even know it, define it and move with it so that we live a more fulfilled life. I have with me two lovely women who will join this conversation on defining your purpose. So stay tuned. We are shooting this video at Jandu, The Girl Who Can. The time is now. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Mrs. Boachedankwa and Dr. Boydu, how are you doing?
Thank you. Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We are grateful.
It's nice being here.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will give you a background to it, but I wouldn't want to start now. So first I want to start from you, Mrs. Boachedankwa. A lot of young girls are saying, basically when I interact with them, what am I doing in life? That sense of the quest to know what I'm doing, but I feel confused. Can we easily find our purpose? And if we've missed it, how do we get it right?
I think as a young woman, finding your purpose, there's always a reason why we find ourselves where we find ourselves. And there's a reason why you're in the family where you find yourself. There's a reason why you find yourself in the church in which you are. So in finding your purpose comes in different forms. Your family, the church, if you're a Muslim, the people that most of you, your friends. But as a young woman, I would always say that there's a reason why your mother is your mother. There's a reason why your father is your father. So if you find yourself in a family, you need to find out why you are there. I know a lot of young people don't look at all those things because they are born and they're just leaving. Sometimes we don't find guides to be able to do that. But I think when you look very intent into yourself, you realize that there are things that you're good at. There are things that you're passionate about. There are things that you are helped to do. You should look at all those things and you will find your purpose in all the things that you do. Let me take myself as an example growing up. They take us to school. So in the morning you have a bus, you're put in a car. If you're walking in a trotro, you sit in a trotro. They take you, so you go back, your teacher teaches you maths, English, all the subjects you take, basic. But you realize that when you come back from the other things you're good at. And I keep saying that there's not only one thing one person is good at. There are multiple things you find yourself doing. But I realize that it takes time to be able to do that. Yeah. So how do you find which one is good for you? Let me use my father as an example. When I was growing up, I think before I got to secondary school, my father took me to the market where women were selling tomatoes early in the morning. They were offloading it from the trucks, they were carrying it to where they're selling. And then he took me to the place where they make, at that time, they make adrenal, they make oil.
Yeah.
And then he brought me to Tech, where at that time there were very few women who were going to school. He didn't say anything. He was just taking me there.
Yeah.
Then we came back home. He didn't say anything. So the next morning he woke me up and asked me, we went to 3 places. I should choose one of them which I want to do. 2 of them is very easy for him to help me. But if I choose to go to school, it's a longer thing and it's going to help me. And he's telling me that whichever one I choose, he's there to support me. That was a guide. And I couldn't have swayed out of it. So I said, well, I saw those beautiful women in Tech with their, how they go to lectures and they return. And it was so nice. And I said I was going to go to school. Then he told me, then even if it takes him to sell his shirt for him to take me to school, then I'm going to go to school. And I need to be focused. That was finding one of my purpose at that time. It wasn't like restricting me. He didn't restrict me, go and do science, go and do that, go and do that. But if only I choose to take that path.
So you were there. I think he did a pictorial, trip with you. And he managed to get that in your mind, choose what you want, and you sat down, you introspected, right? And then we're able to come to that conclusion. But now we have a lot of parents directing purpose because they've realized if they leave it into the hands of young people, they think, or children, that they may not get it right. So, Dr. Boyd, before I come to you, Mrs. Boache, so I know you went to Legon. I know about changing your courses and all that, and now being a doctor. There are a lot of young girls out there or young boys who are now having to struggle with courses. Yeah, already from primary, you are told what to do to SHS. Some parents are saying, go do science, business. This is where I think your future should be. You get to the university, you're now given another program that does not even fit, especially if you don't get the grades, what you want. You're so confused. Is this aligning with my purpose? I'm just doing it because in the end, I'll get a degree and life moves on. Using your story, what can you advise a young girl out there?
Well, I should acknowledge what Mrs. Bashadankwa said. I think it's a beautiful story. And she's practically said some of the things I was thinking about.
Of course.
It's almost as if we came from the same house. Yeah. So I didn't have my parents dictating to me what I should do because from a very young age, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. Okay, so maybe from about 7 years, I said I'd be a doctor, and my dad supported that. So I never had any struggle in that sense. But yeah, I also have met people whose parents have dictated to them. And even in medical school, I had colleagues who were there because their parents wanted them there. And you could see that it was a struggle in the beginning to do it. I have friends who almost left medical school, and it took a lot of counseling and others to keep them there. So really, it's not very easy when you have people telling you do this when you really do not think that that is what you should do. But also, I have seen people blossom out of where they seem to have been pushed to where they didn't want to be.
Okay.
Again, I remember two friends in medical school. One of them wanted to do more of engineering because actually his dad owned an engineering business and he'd been making things since he was a child, but he was thrown in medical school. Several times he wanted to leave and go back to engineering. But as we realized he was a very brilliant young man as well. And over the time, lecturers began to think, look, you can do something engineering even in medicine. And today he's looking at that. In fact, when we were practicing as house officers, there was a time when we needed some supplies for a patient that we didn't have. He built it for us from scratch on the hospital premises. And a patient was saved. So sometimes it seems as if life may have thrown you a curveball. I had to try medical school twice because my first time I didn't get in.
Yeah. And with someone with the goal of being a doctor, then
Exactly. I could have done something else, but really I knew that my heart was nowhere else. And I thank God for the parents and the family that I had.
I like that about parents. I want to bring you in, Dr. Mrs. Wachidankwa. Parents, where are parents getting it wrong in pushing young people in pursuing purposes or just define because they feel that you don't know what you're doing?
I think we should serve as guides. You can be serving as a guide by bringing a push, because I realize young people need a push, but not a push to live your dreams, a push to ensure that they are benefiting from what they are doing. Let me give a very quick scenario. I have a nephew, and I think I was speaking to Papa the other time, and then I happened to have a very good conversation with him, and he was telling me, Auntie, Mommy, I want to be a comic writer. Seriously.
I'm sure the family are like, ain't happening.
I was like, Popsy, please. And like, tell me about the comic writing.
Yeah.
And then he's got a book that he's written about comic writing. He writes all the time. He has his favorite, and it made so much sense. So he educated me. And then I asked him, he draws very well. And I asked him, can we have another book where we can do architecture and be drawing houses? And he said, oh, yes, I can. I love that. But I realized he really, really loves comic writing. Now I come back to this. I have a conversation with a teacher who teaches in Japan. brother-in-law of mine, and he's telling me in his class they have about 70% of the children being interested in comic writing.
And that's very, I mean, not surprising in Japan. That's against Ghana, though.
Because, the
Yeah.
excelling in their community,
Exactly.
where children can be very so. And I was like, we can support my nephew by doing what he wants to do.
Of course.
But I bet if it was in the olden days, I was going to say, don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
I remember my son telling me, Mommy, I want to be a footballer when he was a young guy. My mother goes, football. So when you break your neck,
No.
and I'm like, wow, there's so much money. They said,
No, I can't take that risk.
get there.
Yeah.
But you see, I think parents can serve as a guide. I use my father as an example. Personally, I love to cook. I call myself maybe an adopted administrator, a chef by profession, and a keen gardener by love. That's how I call myself. And I think if my parents probably might have helped me push Twisted to that at that time, what is the meaning of a chef in Ghana here? And then I don't think I would have stand in front of my mother and say, I want to be a chef.
Yeah.
And my father, the guy, you go to school, when you finish, you can do it. And now I realize I have multiple things to do with my life. I can be that keen advocate, I can be that chef that I
So
am.
parents serving as guides. Wow.
Give them a guide.
Okay.
Know what they're good at, and then just turn them towards them. Because I still realize they still need a push. And there's a mistake parents are making. Now I realize that it's very difficult for them to have a conversation because children have already made up minds. They very know what they want to do. They want to be football players. So they go to school and don't really take their education seriously. And when they pick up the football, they want to be keen. Now, if you want to play football, you need to blend the two together. So please, parents can serve as guides and not push so much. I have a cousin. She could be a very good teacher, but my auntie wanted her to be a doctor. See, and she halfway through she realized she couldn't be. So she's into the health thing, but in a different form.
Okay.
I keep saying that let us guide them and be the good guides, not how we do it, but what will help them in the future.
Wow. I mean, I'm taking inspiration from what you said and from what Dr. Buedu said in relation to the colleague you had and being able to build something from what he actually, the engineering background. Now, coming to people, purpose, and relationship in life, this career-wise, we've already addressed some bits of career, like, even in this family I'm in, what is my purpose? Even in this church I'm in, what is my purpose? You started with that foundation. Even in this marriage or this life I'm in, what is my purpose? What if I'm not really living that career field that I wanted to be in? What can I do to still make impact in the society? Doesn't mean that I can't do much. If I'm a makeup artist, if I'm a baker, can I do to make impact?
There is so much everybody can do. And like Mrs. Bashidankwa said, really, everybody, I think, is multifaceted. And God made it such that your brain can function in several ways, if only you allow yourself the possibilities. And for some people, they feel, okay, well, I had set out to do this. I didn't get there, and so that's the end. My life is a mess. That is what I don't want people to carry out of this, that wherever you find yourself, you can make a huge impact. You can reroute, but supposing rerouting may not be an option for you, it doesn't mean throw up your hands in the air and say, that's the end, I do nothing, I just drag myself along during the day. But I think that finding your purpose can sometimes be sort of in phases or stages for some, whereas some people will know right from the outset, this is what I want to do and that is what I'm pursuing. And they may have the resources to do just that. Okay. Others may start from a place where it may look like they're a bit disadvantaged, that first, they are not even sure what they want to do with themselves. So they are just going through the day like everybody else, not knowing what they are doing in this world. Others may have an idea what they want to do, but they don't have the resources to get to it. So you may need to take a different route to get there. Now, it is a journey, and everything you go through will build you up to become a better person, no matter how bad it looks. So, do not think at every phase of your life, look at it as, it may not look like what I had envisioned, but in this place, I can make a difference. What can I do to make somebody's life better? Because in all of it, a purpose is something that makes you fulfilled. And for every human being, being fulfilled is putting a smile on the other person's face, and it's not really about you.
Purpose is something that makes you fulfilled. This is what down for marriage, getting into marriage. There's a lot of, like, everybody wants to.
I'm grateful. God mentioned something.
Yeah.
And there's something purpose that it builds resilience. It builds a lot of resilience. I tend to use a lot of experiences to talk about it. Why do I say it builds resilience? When you don't have a purpose, they tell you we are going here, you just follow people, you think you have to go. I mean, it's like wind, it blows you wherever I want to take you. But when you have a purpose, you know that at that point in time, you're not supposed to be in a certain place. It gives you a guide. And then you know that when other people are playing around, or when other people can just mess around, you have a purpose. So you can't just tag along.
Exactly.
And when you come to marriage, there's so much going on. There's always a reason to walk out of that hole.
So our audience normally are young girls, like, but like dating and all that, and trying to like, what am I doing? Yeah,
So,
of course,
there's
moving
always
to
a reason
marriage.
walk out of that relationship.
Yeah.
But if you know the reason why you were there, why did I meet this person? What am I supposed to do in his life? What is he supposed to do in my life? Where is our journey taking us? Do we have a purpose together? I don't think most of them ask that question.
Do we have a purpose together?
Do we? Okay. Maybe sometimes you don't. So you are so much in love, and these young men, they want the flashy things. The young girls especially, they think it's about the outward thing, but find out if these two people has a purpose together. And what is your purpose in that person's life? It is so important. What is his purpose in my life? I can use myself as an example. My husband is a very patient man. Really not too patient.
So his purpose is to regulate your emotion.
I tell you, for a long while, I've come to realize that he's the best of a compliment. It's not to flatter him, but I think
He's
recently,
flattered.
no, I went somewhere, I sat in the car by myself, and I was telling myself, I think he's done a good job on me. He's done a good job on me. He's been very patient with me. I'm a go-getter. We need to get this. You might not have the resources right now, but I'll take my time to get there. Young people I think they play like a computer. They think immediately they hit it should work.
And
Life
so-
doesn't work like that. You meet that person, take your time to know who is in your life. Stop rushing into the things you rush in. I'm not take 10 years. Probably be observant in addressing the things that you need in that person. Because if you don't address those issues, you're only looking at, sorry to say, they only look at the physique. He's well built, but people have contents. And that is what matters, what they come up with. And if what comes out of them would help you achieve your purpose, then you're in the right place. But if it's not, then please, you don't have a purpose together. Can I say that? You don't have a purpose together, and probably on your journey you might get stuck somewhere and you would not have the resilience for it. But if you know you have a purpose for it, being together, you build resilience.
So I don't know which of you would want to answer this, right? But we have a purpose together. I have a purpose in life. I thought I had figured it out. I'm going, and then boom, everything happens, and life says that is not your purpose because I'm failing at what I thought I was good at. Everybody says it's bad. I'm not really good at what I thought I was good at. Friends, I'm not even meeting the right kind of friends to even make my life fulfilled. I feel like I'm lonely in a life that I thought I'd figured so many things out. How do I get out of that, zigzag puzzle where you don't know what you're like? I keep asking that because it feels like purpose I found myself in a situation where I thought I figured life out. Oh, this is it. If I do this and that, it will end with this. But the equation doesn't seem to end up almost all the time. So I have to now build resilience again. I have to now come back again and assure myself that I can go back on track. What do we do if we find ourselves in? Do we always have to redefine our purpose, or is it one time and we are good to go? Yeah.
Maybe, or let me quickly say this. In life, you need to always pick up the pieces and go again. That is where we build experience. So by the time you get to your destination, you have the experience, you have the patience, and you know that even you learn through the bottlenecks.
Yeah.
You fall down, you pick up, you go back, do an assessment, go back, try again. And I think having the first time makes you fail the next time. You need to get stuck somewhere and to rethink how best to address issues. When you think, let me say it, when people get it too easy, they don't build how do you experience. Those who have failed and retried get better. Probably the one built the first computer probably tried 100 times before we got it to people typing on it. So I keep saying, when you fail, get it all together again and go back again.
Okay.
Maybe the route you took wasn't the best of a route to take. Redirect it and then retake it again and see how best you arrive at your destination.
Redirect it and retake it again. Dr. Abuedu.
Yeah, so absolutely. For me,
I think that what has made me who I am today is one, my confidence in God. I was raised as a Christian, very Christian home. And she is the wife of my Sunday school teacher. So yes, I was raised with memory verses. And that always gave me confidence. It was always my first go-to. I would pray before I went to secondary school. My prayer was, God, I'm going to somewhere I do not know, never been before. Let me meet people who will be instrumental in my life and who will help me commit to you as well. And unlike others who came back from secondary school with stories of having done wild things, the first person who welcomed me when I went to Brigel Secondary School happened to all the time. The first person who welcomed me was the SU prayer secretary.
Wow.
Yes.
That's God answering your prayer. Right?
Exactly. So I didn't have time to misbehave in secondary school. I had time to focus on what was important. Two, my family. So they have supported me all the way through. I told you my first attempt at medical school didn't work. I always say I'm the most expensive child of my parents because they had to pay for 2 first degrees and they did it happily without complaining at all and supported me every time along the way. When I did not get into medical school, did a first degree, and then afterwards, I wasn't even sure what I was doing at that time. But my big brother was still calling me doc. Yeah.
Trying to keep it in your mind.
Exactly. So that is the kind of support system I had until I got a second chance, and then that was easy and I went through it. And then along the way, I've had friends, I've had great mentors. So no one is really ever alone. Even at the time when you think everything has broken down and there's no one to turn to, I tell you, you are never alone. There are always resources around you that you can tap into.
Into those resources.
Yes. Be ready to tap into the resources.
There are resources that will worsen it. The right resources.
The right resources, absolutely. And again, it comes, for me, I've always had my God guide me in everything. And so at every point in time, I believe that I have been exactly where I needed to be, even at the time when it looked like my dream had died.
Even in the confusion, there was
Yes.
the timing was right.
Exactly.
So my last question, I think
Sorry, then that goes back to parents serving as guides.
yeah, because the family was
That's what they do. I remember when we were young, my mother would come to our room and say, "Oh, they're God." I did. I see they almost see come on, sir. You see, parents guiding. So we go back to self as guide, put the right things in their path. So at a point when they can, there's always a way to turn back to the right thing. Because they place God there. There was a Sunday school teacher that would take it.
Yeah.
There was a friend who was in church.
Yes.
If you were a bad girl and had met that SU president, you wouldn't even have noticed. No, Becca, I'm sorry to say, it wouldn't make meaning. Because you didn't come from a background where that was introduced. But our backgrounds serve very good purposes in our life. So it all really, really matters that parents try as much as they do to place the right
the right guide, directional motivation. Exactly.
even when you're not there, it still serve as a guide
Yeah.
for them. I think yes, and every time I'm talking about my father.
That he was a good guy, I'm sure he and your mom.
To choose a man again in my life as a father, I'll definitely choose him.
Nice. Nice. So my last question is about time. Can I run out of time in pursuing my purpose? I think I would end with you and then would say a wrap. Can I run out of time in pursuing my purpose? At what age? Is it too late at 35, 40, 60?
Doc, is there any, can you run
Run out of time?
That is a bit of a tough question to answer, in the sense that it may depend on what you want to do. But if you really want to do it, 80-year-olds have gone to school. I don't see why you cannot. Okay, sometimes life may place limitations, okay? And you have to realize that if you are joining the party late, it might be a little more difficult for you than those little babies. So imagine yourself going to school at 40 or 50, depending on what kind of school it is. You may struggle a little bit. Exactly. But if that is what you want to do, then you have to stay at it and you will have to make it. In medical school, I went in as a graduate, but I wasn't a very old graduate. There were older people than I was. There were people in their 40s who wanted to be doctors for different reasons. There was one who was an optometrist, wanted to be able to do surgeries. For you to do that, you have to be a doctor first. Came back to medical school, started afresh. He was a big optometrist working on his own in the UK. Okay, came to medical school. Exactly. There was one who was a pharmacist, had worked as a pharmacist for years, came back to medical school. So really, if it is something that you want to do, you can never really run out of time. My friends used to laugh at a mate of mine that he was so old that by the time he finished medical school, he would be on retirement. But he did it and he's on to neurosurgery now. So really, you can do anything you put up your mind to. It's a little difficult sometimes with the way things are structured in the society, but give it your best.
I'll add to that when the Bible says you can do things, you can do
All things.
So far as you want to achieve, there's nothing too late. It's only late when
You're dead and gone.
When I say time is then when death is coming, you can, but we can, whatever you want to do, there's never anything called too late. Just as Doc said, we can always do better and improve. I think there's something, don't be too late back to say, oh, at this point in time, I think I need to give up. Don't throw your hands in the air. You can still achieve something as with time. And this is a little thing for the youth. I think that now there's always a quick way for them to
Call it Papasco.
There's always a quick way to do it, but please focus on your purpose and
Focus.
you get there. It might be slow, but it is, you learn through the slowness and you get experience when you arrive at your destination. And I think that's the first thing. There's never been anything there too late.
Thank you so much for gracing this invitation. I have learnt a lot myself. It's never too late. So you watching at home, probably with a blanket in your couch, you're like, it is what it is, I'm done. Shake yourself up, wake up. It's never too late. Time is not against you. Remember, time is the enemy. When we started production, that's what my team said. So let's fight the enemy, and that is time. The girl who can. The time is now. It's a wrap.